here. Good evening. Zion Mike is here. I would like to actually say something regarding the uh, extinction of some languages, of some dialects spoken across the world, but with a particular focus and interest on Africa. Um, Language, dialect, there are a lot of dialects spoken across Africa continent. Nigeria alone has hundreds of local dialects spoken. Of course, you understand that the official language is English because they had contact with the English natives in the 19th century. But we have several local dialects spoken across across Nigeria country. Is a multi-ethnic nation, and every ethnic has its unique language. Consequently, we have hundreds of languages spoken in Nigeria alone. The same with other African countries. But the need for we to preserve the local languages, because the new generations of Africans are not learning the language. You see that now. That is a danger. It's a threat of extinction of the local dialects spoken across Africa, because we need the younger generations to understand the local languages in order to be able to sustain those languages and keep them alive. If it's not being used, so it means that we are not keeping them alive. The only way to sustain those languages from one generation to the other is to teach them in schools. Proper study of the language. All the African children, they should be as proficient in their use and understandings of their local language, their mother tongue, their first language, as they do in the language for learning. Actually, I am a strong advocate that the local languages should be actually the official language of learning all across Africa. All across Africa. But if we cannot do that for the time being, the languages should be taught to young generations. Because the local language is a store of value, is a store of cultural value of the ethnic society. I learned that recently there has been a statutory policy made in Nigeria that they have made the teaching of that the primary school, the first 6 years of education in Nigeria, to be taught in the respective ethnic languages spoken across Nigeria. Of course, I know that is a hard undertaking to do because of what it requires to actually implement such a policy. But I think that is the right step in the right direction. People think that it's only when you speak English that you sound intelligent and clever. That is a delusion, it's a deception. The Chinese, they speak English. Their official language is not English, neither is in French. It's Chinese they speak. And yet, based on the language, they have been able to store up a lot of information in sciences, in commerce, in politics, in every aspect of education, and have built the third largest economy, the second largest economy behind the United States in the world. And China today has more patent for manufacturing than any country in the world, including the United States. Here they speak their own local language, their national language. Africa, I have to speak to you people, Africans. Take pride in your own continent, in your culture, in your values, in your language, and the things that are yours. But I see that modern Africans, some of them are actually more pro-West, even talking about the wares. They would rather buy wares from the made in outside Africa, made in the West, shoes and all of that, than the locally made product, the product made in Africa. That is not a sense, doesn't portray that you are a patriotic African. If you have such a mentality, then it means that you are not a patriotic African. You're not patriotic enough. You're not patriotic enough. It is the media who have told that lie to you, that whatever is made in the West is better than whatever is made in Africa. They call them, for example, the textile industry in Nigeria, for example, most of which is made in the east of Africa, in the east of Nigeria. They call them Aba, so we call them Aba-made products. So when someone put on a clothes made from Nigeria, they say it's Aba-made. For me, I'm wearing Italian-made product, European-made product, American-made product. This thick mentality is part of what is retarding the development of our national and collective image as African. You have to disease from it if you are one of those ignorant folks who see how carry about this kind of silly and delusional ideas. I will share with us now a screen on the number of languages spoken in Africa. So you see, there are over 2,000 languages spoken across Africa. As of 2022, there were over 2,000 living languages in Africa, with 520 languages. Nigeria count with 520 languages. Nigeria accounted for around a fourth of the total languages spoken in Africa. So in Nigeria alone, there are 520 local languages, dialects spoken in Nigeria. You see that now. And so there is a need for we to preserve this number of languages from one generation to another. And the government has to put a plan in place to make sure that these languages are preserved. And of course, the African Union should also invest into programs to help to preserve these over 2,000 living languages that remain spoken in Africa, so that they would not, in order to keep them in existence, and so that they will not go in extinction. All right. So this is the content, information I quickly wanted to share with us today. My final word is that Africa is a repository of everything: knowledge, languages, material resources, people, and therefore I encourage you to take pride in yourself as an African.